masaganang pamumuhay, mga ngiting kanilang taglay. Buhay na puno ng kulay, pamilyang walang kasintibay. Pamilyang Pilipino na planado, kalusugan ay sigurado. Pamilyang Pilipino na nagpaplano, matatag at protektado. Pamilyang Pilipino na planado, sa kahirapan protektado. Kaya lahat ng pamilyang Pilipino, laging mag-usap ang plano.
Isang masayang pamilya at magandang umaga sa inyo mga kapopcom. Welcome sa ating special episode dito sa Usap Tayo sa Family Planning Talkshow. Ito po si Irish Viola Santa Ana, ang inyong host. At may makakasama tayo ngayong umaga. Nais kong ipakilala sa inyo si Mr. Jose Miguel de la Rosa II. Welcome sa Usap Tayo sa Family Planning, Sir M.
Ayan, magandang umaga at masayang pamilya sa lahat. Maraming salamat, partner, no, Irish. Ay kinalulugod ko ang pagsama ngayon dito sa special episode na ito, no. At nabalitaan ko na napakahalagang instrumento nito, no, upang patuloy na magbigay ng mga impormasyon, hindi lang tungkol sa family planning, no. Napakaganda pala ng mga usapan dito.
Yes, at ngayong episode na ito, ating ipagdiriwang ang ika-10 taon na pagsasabatas ng RA 10354 or Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Law.
Tama, ano, kapartner Irish, no? Magbabalik din tanaw tayo sa mga challenges at mga tagumpay po ng mga taong nasa likod dito, no? Ilan na rito ang magiging panauhin natin ngayong araw na pinangungunahan nila Sir Ben De Leon, no, ng The Forum, ni Dr. Leila Joudane or Joudane ng UNFPA or United Nations Population Fund at ni Dr. Junice Melgar ng LIKHAAN.
Speaking of bahagi, Sir M, magpasalamat naman tayo sa mga patuloy na sumusuporta at nakikibahagi sa ating programa.
Ayan, maraming salamat sa aming mga taga-subaybay. Sana mas dumami pa kayo at wag lang kalilimutan na bukod sa i-like ang aming programa, baka naman pwede nating i-share ito, no? Dahil dito, ito ang magiging daan or kayo ang magiging daan o instrumento na maibahagi sa mga nakararami ang mga importanteng pinag-uusapan sa programang ito.
Tama ka dyan, Sir M. At excited nga kami ngayon sa special episode na ito. Mayroon tayong mapapanood ng mga videos tungkol sa RPRH Law at ano nga ba ang naging impact nito hindi lamang sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino, kundi sa bawat komunidad.
Tama ka dyan, Iris, no? So mamaya din, gaya ng nasabi ko kanina, ang ating mga magiging panauhin upang pag-usapan ng kanilang mga naging pagsubok at tagumpay para maipasa itong RPRH Law. Sila Dr. Junice Melgar, Sir Ben De Leon, and Doc Leila Joudane. At siyempre, ang ating popular na Men and Women on the Streets na sa ngayong episode ay pinangalanan natin na
Madla on the Streets.
At mga kasama natin ay walang iba kundi ang aming information officers sa Knowledge Management and Communications Division dito sa POPCOM Central Office, Mr. Kevin Suela and Ms. Jasmine Bingkoy.
At sa unang bahagi po ng ating talakayan ngayong umaga, nais naming ipakita ang isang audiovisual presentation tungkol sa Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health o RPRH Law. Ano nga ba ito at paano nga ba ito naisabatas? At syempre, makakasama din natin sa AVP ang ating pinakamamahal na former Executive Director na si Dr. Juan Antonio A. Perez III. Kaya mga kapopcom, panoorin natin to.
Ilang dekada na ang lumipas kung babalikan natin ang matagal ng pakikibaka para sa konstitusyonal na suporta upang matugunan ang mga pangangailangan sa reproduktibong pangkalusugan. Salamat sa dating Pangulong si Presidente Benigno Aquino III sapagkat sa kanyang termino, Disyembre ng 2012, nilagdaan niya ang RPRH Bill upang maging isang batas. Ito ay sa kabila ng mga pagtutol at protesta mula sa iba't ibang grupo at pag-uugnay ng RPRH Law bilang batas sa pagpapalaglag o aborsyon. Kasunod nito ang desisyon ng Korte Suprema na sumunod sa kalooban ng Pangulo at matagumpay na natapos ang talakayan tungkol sa katwiran ng batas. Ang Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Law o RA 10354 ay isang batas na nilikha upang siguraduhin ng pamahalaan na mayroong universal access ang mga mamamayan sa iba't ibang paraan ng contraception, family planning, sex education, at maternal care. Layunin ng batas na ito na mapababa ang bilang ng mga babaeng hindi pa handa para magbuntis. Naglalayo nito na matugunan ang pangangailangan ng mahihirap na pamilyang Pilipino para sa ikabubuti ng kanilang kalagayan mula sa epekto ng hindi kontroladong paglaki ng pamilya. Nakakalungkot isipin na merong namamatay na sanggol at meron din namang namamatay na ina ng bata, bunga ng panganganak. Ang mga ganitong uri ng kaso ay maiiwasan kung may wastong impormasyon ng mga magulang sa reproductive health at family planning upang masigurado na may sapat na pangtustos ang bawat isa sa pangangailangan ng kanilang pamilya. Inaasahang sa batas na ito, masusolusyonan din ang mabilis na paglobo ng populasyon ng Pilipinas. Ayon sa dating punong ehekutibo ng Komisyon sa Populasyon at Pagpapaunlad o POPCOM, sa kanyang 9 na taon na panunungkulan na ang kanyang pangunahing nagawa ay ang ganap na pagpapatupad ng RA 10354.
Ang pagkakapasa ng Responsible Parenthood at Reproductive Health Law 10 taon na ang nakaraan ay isang maituturing na landmark sa development and health na gawain para sa populasyon ng Pilipinas. Malaking naiambag ang batas na ito na sa loob ng 10 taon ay nakapagpadoble ng mga babayang na gumagamit ng family planning, nakapagbaba ng fertility rate ng ating populasyon at ngayon handa na ang ating bansa para sa panibagong pakikibaka para sa karagdagang kaunlaran ng ating bansa. Ang population and development ay dapat kaakibat ng mga tagumpay na nakita natin sa responsible parenthood at reproductive health. Ang ating mga kababayan ay dapat patuloy na makakuha ng benepisyo ng RH Law sa pamamagitan ng mas matibay at mas malakas na programang pang-family planning na ngayon ay malaki ang ginagawa ng ating local governments na siyang inatasang maging leader sa pag-i-implement ng mga programa sa reproductive health lalo na sa family planning. Malaki rin ang naiambag ng Komisyon sa Populasyon at Pagpapaunlad sa nakaraang 10 taon ng implementasyon ng batas. Naging kabahagi ang Komisyon sa Populasyon at Pagpapaunlad sa Department of Health, DSWD, DepEd at marami pang ahensya kasama ang NEDA kung saan nakakabit ngayon ang POPCOM para sa pagpapatupad ng batas na to.
Dagdag pa nito, labis ang kanyang pasasalamat sa mga program stakeholders at sa mga lokal na mga pamahalaan dahil kung wala ang kanilang suporta ay hindi magkakaroon ng mga magagandang epekto nito sa antas bilang individual, may asawa, may pamilya, para sa komunidad at para sa ating bansa. Kung mapapansin mo, mabilis ang paglobo ng populasyon, hindi lamang sa Pilipinas, ngunit sa buong mundo. Sa pagdami ng tao, ibig sabihin madami din ang dapat na nakahandang serbisyo upang matugunan ang pangangailangan tulad ng pagkain, damit, bahay, trabaho, at iba pa. Ngayong ika-10 taong anibersaryo ng batas, makikita natin na mayroong positibong epekto ito, gaya na lamang ng pagbaba ng tinatawag na total fertility rate o TFR ng mga kababaihang Pilipino, edad na 15 hanggang 49, ay pumapalo na lamang sa 1.9 anak. Base ito sa 2022 result ng National Health Demographic Survey or NDHS ng Philippine Statistics Authority. Ibig sabihin, sa bawat may asawang Pilipina ay naghahangad na lamang ng maximum na 2 anak. Ayon sa mga eksperto, hindi nakababahala ang pagbaba ng total fertility rate o TFR ng mga kababaihan sa bansa dahil magagamit ito upang pabilisin ang socio-economic development at pagpapababa ng antas ng kahirapan sa bansa o poverty reduction. Sa paglipas ng panahon, makikita ang ilang mga pagbabago, ngunit hindi ito kakayanin ng ating gobyerno mag-isa. Ayon sa dating kalihim ng kalusugan na si Dr. Esperanza Cabral, kailangan ng gobyerno ang kooperasyon nating lahat. Ang RH Law ay hindi batas na ipatutupad lamang ng gobyerno, kundi ito ay batas na ipatutupad nating lahat. Sa kasalukuyan, kinikilala natin ang napakahalagang papel ng ating humigit kumulang 20 milyong kabataang Pilipino sa pagbuo ng bansa. Kaya naman, tayo ay nagsusulong at nagsusumikap para sa isang magandang kapaligiran para sa kanilang kapakanan.
Mga nakaraang chairman ng Komisyon sa Populasyon at Pagpapaunlad o PAPCOM, sila Secretary Ona, Secretary Pernia at si Secretary Carl Chua, ay malaki ang naiambag din para maisulong sa pambansang saklaw ang tagumpay ng batas na ito. Kaya sa ika-10 anibersaryo ng RPRH Law, dapat tayo magbunyi. Pero hindi pa tapos ang laban, marami pang mga kababayan tayong kailangan ng serbisyo at tulong na may bibigay ng RPRH Law. Patuloy nating gawin ang ating mga magagawa at mga may aambag na gawain para sa RPRH Law. Padayon sa maayos na pagpapatupad ng RPRH Law ngayon at sa mga susunod na taon. Mabuhay ang PAPCOM at mga kaalyado nito.
Ang PAPCOM, katuwang ng iba pang ahensya ng pamahalaan, mga kasapi, pribadong sektor, akademya, mga civil society groups, ay iisa lamang ang layunin, ang bigyan ng bawat Pilipino ng kalidad na pamumuhay. Kaya't kami ay patuloy na nagsusulong at naglilingkod para sa planado, protektado at progresibong pamilyang Pilipino.
Maganda rin yung nabanggit dito ni former Executive Director ng ating ahensya, no? Dr. Juan Antonio A. Perez III, no?
Yes.
Marami akong mga nabasa noong mga unang taon ng batas na ito, no? Nakita ko talaga ang hirap at yung pagtagumpay ng ating mga taong nasa likod dito. Nakikita ko ang mga kasama niya dito, ang mga taong nagbigay talaga ng effort para ito ay maging isang batas, no? Dahil sa kapakanan, dahil naniniwala sila na ito ay para sa kapakanan ng ating mga kababayan.
Yes. At kaya naman ngayon, para sa ating segment na Pop Ganern.
Pasok, Pop Ganern Arang.
Maraming salamat, Sir Michael and Irish. Hello mga ka-Popcom! Nato na naman tayong muli sa ating segment na Population, Health, and Development Facts That You Need to Know. Ito ang Pop Ganern. Sa special episode hong ito ay ating talakayin ang Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Law or RPRH Law kung saan binibigyan nito ang bawat individual ng kakayahang mamili ng nais nitong pamamaraan ng pagpaplano ng pamilya. Sa ikasampung taon ng pagkakasabatas ng RPRH Law, tingnan natin ang ilan sa mga datos na nagpapakita ng malaking ambag ng nasabing batas sa ating lipunan. Panoorin ho natin ang video na ito. Sana'y ating isaisip na nakasalalay sa kamay ng responsableng magulang ay kabubuti ng pamilya tungo sa matatag na pamayanan. Hanggang sa muli, ako ho si Pop Ganern Arang para sa Population Health and Development Facts That You Need to Know. Ito ang Pop Ganern.
At sa susunod na bahagi ng ating programa, panoorin natin ang kwento ng buhay ni Felmar at Mary Jane Acain na benepisyaryo ng RPRH Law. Panoorin natin to.
Naalala ko pa nang madinig namin ang tungkol sa RPRH Law at Family Planning. 6 na taon na ang nakakalilipas. Oo, tama, buntis si Mrs. sa una naming anak. Dahil sa batas na ito, nalaman ko na dapat isaalang-alang ang kalusugan ng aking asawa. Kung kaya't sumubok kami ng family planning upang hindi kaagad masundan ang aming panganay. Salamat at dahil dito ay natutunan namin mag-agwat at mag-control ng tamang bilang ng anak. Ako si Felmar Acain, isang company driver at ito ang aming kwento. Malaking tulong itong batas na itong RPRH Law dahil matustusan nila ang pangailangan ng pamilya nila at mabibigay nila ang magandang buhay na inaasam-asam nila dahil hindi sunod-sunod ang pagpapanganak ng mga kababaihan sapagkat mayroon tayong batas na RPRH Law. Nakukuha po namin yung impormasyon sa family planning dahil may malapit po kaming mga health center dito na nagbibigay pong impormasyon po.
At may house to house din sa amin para sa family planning para magabayan din kami lahat mga kababaihan.
Apat talaga ang gusto namin pero sa ngayon 3 muna dahil ay nakikita kaming impormasyon tungkol sa family planning.
Bagamat hindi natin maisasantabi na isa sa kadahilanan ng paglaki ng bilang ng populasyon ay ang hindi wastong pagpaplano ng bilang ng mga anak. Ang bilang ng populasyon ay nakakaapekto sa ekonomiya, kapaligiran, ang pangkabuuang pag-unlad ng isang bansa. At ang susi upang makontrol ang paglago ng populasyon ng isang bansa ay ang pagpapatupad ng mahusay na pagpaplano sa pagbuo ng mga pamilya.
ang implant po kasi nakikita ko po yung agwat ng aking anak at nakokontrol po namin yung bilang ng mga anak.
Cycle bed sana ang ginamit namin noon kasi epektibo naman siya. Hindi naman nabubuntis kasi may kakilala akong sa pinsan ko. Ikukumpara ko yung family planning noon tsaka ngayon. Malaking bagay talaga ngayon yung family planning. Dahil kung magbukas ka lang sa social media, sa radio, sa television, o kahit sa anong social media, ay makikita mo na siya. At aware na kaming lahat na gamitin ito. Dahil ito ay nakikita na sa mga advertising.
Hindi pa tapos ang laban na ito sa hangarin nating mapabagal o mabawasan ang paglobo ng populasyon. Mayroon pa tayong magagawa. Kailangan ng tulong-tulong at pagkakaisa ng bawat ahensya at ng bawat individual.
Siyempre po, mas nakakaangat po yung may alam sa family planning dahil po sa akin po, ang ginamit ko po ay implant. Malaking tulong po sa akin dahil po na kukontrol ko po yung bilang ng anak namin. Ang may papayo ko lang sa mga kababaihan ay mag-usap kayong mag-asawa para sa inyong kinabukasan ng mga anak at maging masaya ang inyong pamilya.
Importante po ang pagpaplano ng inyong pamilya nang sa ganun ay mabigyan ninyo ng magandang kinabukasan ang inyong mga pamilya.
Malaking tulong ang programa na ito hindi lamang sa mag-asawa, kundi sa mga kabataan na din. Ang kampanyang ito ay pinag-iigting pa ng mga lokal na pamahalaan. Isa lang naman ang nais at hangarin ng batas na ito, ang mapabuti ang bawat kalagayan ng individual, pamilya, komunidad at ng bansa.
Ikaw, ako at bawat Pilipino ang makikinabang sa malaking desisyon na ito, na piliing yakapin ang pagiging responsableng magulang at pagpasyahan ang mabuting kinabukasan ng mga anak at ng buong pamilya.
Ayan, Sir M, nakakatuwa naman ang pamilya nila Felmar at Mary Jane, isa sa benepisyaryo ng ating programa sa family planning. Nakakatuwa dahil nakamit nila yung desired number of children dahil sa ating programa.
Oo, at ang maganda pa dito, no? Yung pag-uusap nila bilang mag-asawa at pagdesisyon kung anong family planning method ang gagamitin, no? Nakakatuwang panoorin at mismong galing sa kanila, no? Nag-benefit talaga sila dito sa ating programang ito.
Yes. At ngayon, para sa ating men and women on the streets, natatawagin na nga nating Madla on the Streets. Makakasama natin si Mr. Kevin Suela at Ms. Jasmine Bingkoy, ang mga Information Officers from Knowledge Management and Communications Division. Sila ay mag-iikot sa Metro Manila at magtatanong sa ating mga kababayan kung pamilyar ba sila sa RPRH Law o Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Law at kung ano-ano ba ang mga benepisyong nakukuha dito ng mga Pilipino. Yan, kaya naman, Kevin at Jasmine, pasok!
Hello mga kapapkom! Ako si Kevin.
Ako naman si Jasmine.
Welcome sa isang espesyal na episode ng MOTS na tatawagin nating Madla on the Streets!
Sir Kevin, sa paggunita ng ika-10 anibersaryo ng RPRH Law, aalamin natin kung ano nga ba ang opinyon ng ating mga kababayan sa patungkol sa batas na ito.
Wow, Just, 10 years na palang RPRH Law, no? Sana all umaabot ng 10 years. Pero dahil ang batas na ito ay for all, aalamin natin ano nga ba yung benepisyo nito para sa pamilyang Pilipino at sa kaiunlad ng ating bansa. Tara! MOTS na!
ano pong pangalan nyo?
Ako po pala si Regina Armuela.
Nay Regina, pamilyar po ba kayo tungkol sa RPRH Law?
Opo, yung family planning po.
Sa palagay nyo po, ano po yung benepisyo ng batas na iyon?
Sa akin po siguro ang magiging benepisyo nito. Kasi po sa panahon ngayon, kapag mag-aanak po tayo ng marami, hindi na po natin kayang pag-aralin, hindi na po natin kayang pakainin. Lahat ng pangailangan po nila kulang, kaya wala po tayong maibibigay na magandang kinabukasan sa kanila.
Pamilyar ka dun sa batas na RPRH Law? Hindi pamilyar pero narinig ko na yun. Narinig yun na po. Tungkol saan po yung batas? Para sa family planning.
Tay, ano po ba yung benepisyo ng batas na ito?
Para ma-regulate yung malimitahan yung mga pag-aanak, di ba? Para mabuhay mo ng maayos yung pamilya mo, di ba? Kung marami kang anak, eh di mahirap ang buhay, katulad ngayon, mahirap ang buhay, di ba? Paano mo sila bubuhayin? Di ba? Maganda yung sinasabi mo. Pamilyar kayo sa RPRH Law?
Hindi po kasi di po namin napapag-aralan. Pero yung family planning po napapag-aralan.
Saan nyo naririnig yung mga ganong bagay?
Sa ESP po.
Sa ESP, ayan. Sa tingin nyo, bakit mahalaga na mayroong batas regarding dun sa ganong bagay?
Halaga po. Bakit po mahalaga?
Kasi po sila yung nagtuturo na yung mag-respeto sa amin.
Makakatulong po din po sa atin to yung batas. Kasi syempre po, mahalaga din po sa atin yon. So, kailangan dun po natin sundan.
Pamilyar po kayo dun sa batas ng RPRH, no? Opo. Pamilyar po kami. Sa tingin niyo po, ano yung benepisyo po ng batas na yan sa atin, sa inyo, sa lipunan natin, sa bansa natin?
Para di magdagdag ng mga anak dumami. Yung anak.
Kasi kapag marami po yung anak, ano pong nangyayari?
Hindi nakakapos sa pangangailangan sa araw-araw. Hindi kaya nung suporta ng gulang din yun. Kaya naghihirap yung iba. Ang benepisyo na, siyempre, kung ikaw ang magulang, hindi ka mahihirapan. Kasi kung ilan lang anak mo, kunyari, 2 lang, katulad sa akin. Hindi ka ganong mahihirapan sa pagpapalaki kasi mapopokus mo yung sa 2 anak lang. Eh kung hindi ka magplano, siguro pag nag-anak ka ng mga 5, hirap ka niyan. Siyempre kahit sino magulang, pag marami ang anak, talagang mahirapan sila. Yung magiging benepisyo nun, pag 2 lang, pag nagplano ka, ibig sabihin, hindi ka mahirapan sa pagpapalaki.
Para siguro di dumami bubuntis. Iwas din. Kasi hirap ang buhay. Ano po yung sa palagay niyo maitutulong nito sa pamilya? Siguro tipid. Kasi mahal na mga bilihin ngayon, lalo yung gatas, diaper. Yun yung advantage din niya yun. Tapos bawas gastos. Di ba? Kasi pag buntis ka, maraming mga kailangan. Siyempre, isa rin sa mga advantage din yun.
Saan po kayo nagpa-implant?
Sa Popcom.
Sa Popcom. Sa batas kasi nakalagay na parang bibigyan yung kababaihan ng mga serbisyo.
Opo.
So paano nakatulong sa iyo yung serbisyo na binibigay dahil nagkaroon ng batas na yan?
Mahalaga yun kasi na nakakalibre tayo ng serbisyo sa tulong ng Popcom. Kagaya ko na hirap sa buhay. Di ba? Malaking tulong din kasi taon-taon kasi ako nanganganak. Ngayon kasi parang maganda sa lang kasi na parang ganun sa paramdam na yung iwas mga gastos-gastos nga. Kasi nga taon-taon ako nagbubuntis. Ngayon hindi na.
So libre po?
Libre! Kung gusto sa magpalagay, libre. Kung hindi hiyang, papangga, tapos palta na ulit. Libre naman yun eh.
Ayan, Sir Kevin, nalaman na natin ang mga opinyon ng ating mga kapapkom patungkol sa RPRH Law.
Nakatuwa, Jess, na marami talagang benepisyo ang batas na ito, hindi lang sa bawat pamilya, kundi sa bawat komunidad.
Tama ka dyan, Sir Kevin.
Kaya salamat sa pagsama sa amin, mga kapapkom. Back to you, Sir Mike and Irish!
Salamat, Kevin at Jasmine, at salamat din sa puso ng ating mga kababayan.
Ngayon naman, para sa mga nanalo sa ating Question of the Week at Task of the Week. Ito po ang mga nanalo.
Again, congratulations po sa lahat ng mga ating sumali sa aming patimpalak. Huwag lang kayong magsawang tumutok sa aming programa at magkakaroon kayo ng mga ilang papremyo gaya ng mga cellphone load at mga IEC collaterals.
Siyempre, Sir M, bukod sa load prices at IEC collaterals, layunin ng ating programa na maibahagi ang makabuluhang impormasyon para sa bawat individual at pamilyang Pilipino para maabot natin ang ating planado, protektado at progresibong buhay. At sa susunod na bahagi ng ating diskusyon, meron tayong makakasama. Isa siyang medical doctor from the University of the Philippine College of Medicine, NGO representative at Secretariat of the National Implementation Team for the Reproductive Health Law from 2016 to present. And she's also a member of the Steering Committee of Reproductive Health Advocacy Network from 2004. And she's also a board member of the Philippine Society for Responsible Parenthood. She is also a member of DOH Public Health Ethics Committee and past director of DOH Family Health Office, and of course the co-founder, executive director of LIKHAAN Center for Women's Health from 1995 to present. Let us welcome Dr. Junice Melgar. Good morning and welcome to Usap Tayo sa Family Planning Talkshow. Doc Junice, welcome po.
Hi, good morning to you. Glad to be here. Finally, after a long while.
It's such an honor and privilege po to have you here in Usap Tayo sa Family Planning Talkshow, and of course to share the information and knowledge about RPRH Law. So to start off, Doc Junice, how was the struggle of the RPRH Law during your time?
Oh, the struggle for the RH Law took, for myself, over 10 years, from 2002 to 2012. So it was a very long, arduous, fiercely fought battle for reproductive health that was the culmination also of many of the dreams of Filipinas, especially women who are poor, who have desperately wanted to plan their families. So that was a long struggle to overcome the many barriers, the barriers, religious barriers in the Philippines, and the lack of wherewithal to access commodities, for example. So finally getting the law in place was a big relief and I think a victory for those who really advanced it.
Yes, Dr. Junice, it was a nice explanation, But I just want to follow up with that answer. Are there still any religious issues surrounding the RPRH law?
Well, the religious issues have abated a little. We don't hear that much strident opposition anymore. Yes. Well, because I think because of COVID, but also because of the fact that many have accepted that the RH is a law.
They saw the reality po behind the law na.
But if the question is, are there other obstacles other than religious opposition? Yes, because as the law evolves, we know that there are operational issues.
Yes, that's
there
right.
are organizational issues. There are budgetary issues critical to the RH law's successful implementation.
I think that's the topmost budget.
Yes, that are still being slowly addressed.
So, Doc Junice, as stated in the law, it guarantees universal and free access to all modern contraceptives. But why are there still reports on the inaccessibility and unavailability of these services, particularly on family planning in rural areas?
Okay, so the response is not just religious opposition, but all these operational issues.
Yes.
And one of the big factor actually is not demand, because there's lots of demand from women on the ground, but how do adequate contraceptives reach them?
Yes,
So the logistical problem of how much is budgeted for contraceptives, and are they getting the supplies, the supply chain, all the way to the most remote, the most remote area, for example. And that has not materialized sufficiently.
Yes.
And so why are we women still needing? Because they don't get supplies. Or else, number 2 is sometimes the quality of care.
Yes, I guess that
Of
has been
family planning
the
care.
problem from the LGUs. I think we have interviewed lots of LGUs and members of the population offices. It has been the definite problem, like reaching the needies or the marginalized sectors po talaga, I guess.
So getting to talk, reaching the women in the language that they understand, especially the young people, where you have a lot of cultural restrictions. So the most marginalized, the hardest to be reached are the ones that are left behind, actually, in the contraceptive distribution scheme of government.
There was one instance last year when we went to Mindoro, no, with these indigenous people.
Yes.
There is one interview that I've conducted together with a team of 3, if I remember. Those struggles in traversing those areas is really tough. And when I interviewed this woman who is an FP user, actually she is demanding for an additional supply of pills. Because what if her supply is only for 1 month? She is requesting actually for...
That is a very accurate observation, because the way that our programs handle it right now, they only give like 1 pack a month.
Yes.
So if you're traveling from very remote places, you get 1 month. You have to travel so many kilometers every month.
Yes.
So that's really unfriendly and very insensitive, no? So they should, like you said, they should be getting the amount of contraceptives that they need. But for pills, that means very frequently or in large amounts. But they should also be getting implants, di ba?
Yes.
Implant is something that they really want and it's not reaching them.
Introduce another method
I guess
for long term.
it's part because they don't have like barangay health centers unlike the other LGUs, because they were indigenous people, right, Sir M? They were indigenous people, and in their community, I think there's non-existing barangay health center, so that's why they lack of such commodities.
So it's the lack of responsiveness, pa din
I guess.
of government.
Of course.
That means it will take budget and people, di ba?
People.
There should be a center
Human
there.
resource.
Yes,
Human
that-
resource.
That's very important because they were that people were supposed to give the commodities to, especially for the people in the remote areas such in Mindoro.
Yes, they need care to be able to catch up under the SDG,
Yes.
where nobody should be left behind. Di ba? There should be more effort to get them access.
Yes. So much, Doc Junice, for that very valuable inputs and insights. So now, as we commemorate the 10th year of RPRH Law, since passage of the same, so what needs to be done in order to achieve the outcomes that we envisioned through this, law, especially to the Filipino people, to the families and communities?
I think now that we have crossed the gap where there's hardly any resistance anymore, external, no?
Yes.
I think the best thing that we have to do is to harness all of government's resources. So it's not just POPCOM, it's not just the DOH that's helping, but government should be mobilizing the DILG,
Yes.
DOLE, because workers also need contraceptive.
Working hand in hand.
Yes, all these different agencies of government should be harnessed to provide services that people actually need and that our development needs, no? Because family planning program in the Philippines has lagged behind our neighbors. So, for example, our growth in terms of family planning increase in percentage of use every year
That's right.
is less than 1%. In other countries, it's more than 1%. We are lagging by like 0.4, 0.6. So we've never reached 1%. So parang 1% we need that, di ba? To get to what is our goal? What is your goal? 60% ba or 40%? So even just getting to the target of 42% is a big, would require a multi-sectoral effort.
We'd really go into the zero unmet need, hopefully. Docs, you've mentioned the working together with the agencies or government sectors. What about, of course, the local government units? What do you think is their importance on the RPRH law?
Actually, the LGUs are the most critical,
Yes.
no? Because they are the ones, LGUs are the ones on the ground. They actually determine what kind of services and how much services are available to the people on the ground. And so long as our national government is not able to, how do you call it, to make sure that they do their part.
Yes.
Because for the longest time, our outputs at the local government units have not been uniform. Some are performing well, like above the contraceptive prevalence rate for the average.
The average.
But a lot are still below, like 20. That's really low. That means they are missing out on the women, especially who need them. So how do you get them to perform well? That is a puzzle that I'm sure POPCOM has been trying to address in the past so many years. But we need more effort from national government.
Yes, of course. That's very important. It's the national government that disseminates the information, of course, and the projects that needs to be touched or approached to the ground, I guess.
Well, we hope that with mandanas, so
yes, I was supposed
mandanas
to
would
mention.
help them perform their duties, no? Their duties to the right to family planning better.
I think that's now the highlight for the local government units now that Mandana's ruling has been,
And because of the devolution.
Yeah. So it's now on their shoulders to promote and function the programs that they meant to implement, such as this.
All my fingers are crossed.
Such this reproductive health law. But what about, Doc, for the families, for the communities? So what do you think is their importance in this law?
The families, the women of the families have been wanting contraceptives. We see that everywhere. When we do our work, and LIKHAAN runs 10 clinics in very marginalized communities, we see long queues of women wanting contraceptives, actually desiring the most long-acting. No? In our case, we see that they really love implants. No? So that demand is not a problem.
That's true.
So meeting that demand, that means there has to be mobilization in the community. There should be a tapping of CSOs and people's organizations in the community, so they can help local government bring, di ba? Bring these people. If government cannot go to them, then there has to be an agency that brings people to the services.
Okay, my question is, 10 years from now, how do you foresee our family planning and reproductive health services?
10 years from now, that means beyond this administration, right?
Yes.
That's 2 administrations from now.
Yes.
We hope the first step really is for this administration not to keep its distraction. It has to keep its eye on the ball of family planning and reproductive health. No? That means it needs to provide budget. It needs to make sure that human resources are on the ground. It needs to make sure that the services are quality and that the women get the contraceptives that they need. So that's one. But the other is making sure that the commodities are there on time. Diba?
Yes.
And that is, I think that would require how do you call it, transport,
Logistics
air
services,
transport,
yes.
distribution, land transport, etc., even warehousing, all that sort of thing that need to be budgeted as well.
Yes, exactly.
Otherwise, di ba, if you don't budget for those things, you take that for granted, it will not solve itself.
Yes.
Any final words for number one, for our government?
For this government, I really hope that they take to heart the right to family planning, which is in our Constitution, the right to provide access to care that people need, that they can summon the political will, actually, to do what's right for our people, because once you do what's right for the people will take care of themselves.
How about for the development partners?
Well, for the private sector, many of you have laborers and workers who need contraception badly. So it's time to rejuvenate all the family planning clinics of corporations, di ba? To also invest in their workers, because actually the workers provide them more of their products. Yes. So that's, I think, maximize also, media needs to, I think, articulate more to reach the more marginalized, the women with disability who also have very high needs.
Yes,
no?
yes. Okay.
They need to talk the language of young people.
Yes.
Make sure that they're
very
not
important.
stigmatized, that they are not discriminated against, that they are welcome,
Yes.
made welcome in the facilities. And I think, lastly, the CSOs have been working very hard, but they have not been supported. No? We see that a lot of CSOs working on reproductive health actually are not funded anymore. The group that I was with 10 years ago pushing for the RH, there are like 3 or 4 of us left now, when there were about 22 of us in the past. No? So that means the people who have connections on the ground,
That's very important.
and these are the NGOs and the people's organizations that are instrumental in reaching. Okay, so these are instrumental in reaching the women and the young people that really need the services very, very badly. They need to be part of the network, no, that is being relied on to make this happen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Junice. We're so glad that we have you here, and we have a lot of learnings from your insights, and it's very valuable to us.
Again, thank you so much, Doc Junice, for accepting our invitation, and we're glad to have you here in Usap Tayo sa Family Planning Talkshows. I know our viewers today will have a lot of learnings from you. Thank you so much, Doc.
Ngayong umaga ay makakasama natin sa isang makabuluhang diskusyon ang President Emeritus ng The Forum for Family Planning at isa sa ginawaran ng Global Awardee Lifetime Achievement Award for Family Planning and Reproductive Health. Ito ay walang iba kundi si Sir Benjamin De Leon. Magandang umaga po, Sir Ben.
First of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be part of the Usap Tayo ng Family Planning.
So, Sir Ben, as a staunch supporter of the Reproductive Health Bill, which is now a law, any thoughts on its implementation now that we are celebrating its 10th year?
Concerning my role in the enactment of the Reproductive Health Law or RPRH Law, the Forum for Family Planning and Development, or in short, the Forum, together with the relevant agencies, both government and members of the civil society organizations or NGOs, played a crucial role in the final implementation or a final enactment of the law. For the forum, we played the role of holding monthly press conferences or for a period of 1 year. Topics on PopDev, family planning, reproductive health, gender, and the like, were the center of discussion, no, by our resource experts. Our resource experts handled these topics, explaining, elucidating, and clarifying the major questions. The result was their overwhelming support, as shown in the tri-media in the form of press releases, editorials, and columns, and even during debates. I also use the backroom diplomacy, or via the backdoor way of making sure that the RPRH bill will be passed into law. For me, I talked to a justice friend explaining the rationale of the law for his broader understanding without forcing him my views. The bottom line was that this will benefit the family in the long run, meaning women, girls, and men, as well as boys. I did befriend the FDA chief, who was new in her post, she being a pharmacist. I had a few lunch meetings with her together with our RH and family planning experts in talking to them, or in the sharing them their knowledge, which I'm sure contributed to her understanding of the rationale of the law. The magistrate who I met prepared the decision was concurred by the entire majority of the highest court of the land. They believe in the decision was that the bill is constitutional or not unconstitutional. They based their decision on the FDA's recommendation that all methods of modern contraception are not abortifacient. My thoughts on the law's implementation. The implementation of the law is lodged with that of the Department of Health. The reality, however, is that the LGUs have the responsibility, which since the municipal health officers and the city health officers are under the respective supervision. DOH and PAPCOM have only regional offices, and as such, prevent them from enforcing the implementation. But they can render technical assistance, capacitating them to understand the link between population and development.
Thank you so much, Sir Ben, for sharing your valuable insights. And now for your second question, what are the call to action you may advise our citizens, policymakers, and of course, the government?
There is one dimension that the law should be, in the law should be the concern of everyone. I refer to the comprehensive sexuality education, which is the responsibility of the Department of Education. The law specifies that adolescents obtain the permission of their parents before they can use contraceptives. DepEd has this responsibility, as I mentioned. Progress have been made in preparing the curriculum for the information or knowledge of the teachers and students. They need the right information on the methods of contraception, on how to make use of them. Additionally, they need to be imparted the benefits, the benefits of using modern method of contraception. Additionally, they need to be imparted on the benefits of a smaller size family now. There is a contrast though here because there is an emerging teenage pregnancy, the consequences of which we all know. They become teenage mothers, dropping out of school, and may not at all complete their education. Some mothers are malnourished, giving birth to malnourished children, resulting in stunting. Now, what about a call to action? To the policymakers, it's time to make a reassessment of the law. I particularly cite the provision that permission from the parents is required before taking contraception. Adolescents have a way of acquiring information about modern methods of contraception and availing of services without the knowledge of their parents. The result of the PIDS study has been released and was the subject of discussions by the various governments, CSOs, and NGOs. The DOH, which commissioned the study, has the responsibility of calling out those that have policy implications and submit the same to the members of Congress for possible amendments of the RPRH law. To the executives, there are managerial issues that are bearing towards the law's implementation. One about to the youth. The millennials are the present emerging and successor generation of leaders. They must continue the advocacy left by their elders. Towards the next 10 years, we call on the local chief executives, meaning the provincial governors, the city and municipal mayors, to exercise this responsibility. They are mandated by the Mandanas ruling that they provide family planning, information and services, as well as increasing or appropriating budgetary requirements for modern methods of contraception. To be successful, national agencies like the Department of Health and PAPCOM providing, as I have said earlier, technical assistance and capacitating the LGUs for this purpose. I would like to say that family planning becomes as a way of life. It saves lives. Thank you again, and wish you a Merry Christmas and a healthy, prosperous New Year.
So thank you very much, Sir Ben, for that wonderful insight. Lot of learnings for us, and we hope to have you again here in our talk show.
Yes, Sir M. And Sir Ben, maraming salamat po sa pagpapaunlak sa aming imbitasyon para ma-interview dito sa Usap Tayo sa Family Planning Talkshow. Mabuhay po kayo! And for our next guest interviewee, before her assignment in the Philippines, she was the country representative of UNFPA Iran for 4 years, where she pushed for the integration of protection and response for gender-based violence, investing in youth and women to harness the demographic dividend through a life cycle approach, among others, in UNFPA Iran's country program. She also served as UNFPA Assistant Country Representative in Tunisia for 10 years. She led the country office growth in partners and spearheaded developing the Arab region's first comprehensive law on gender-based violence. In addition, she led the resource mobilization process and positioned the mandate of UNFPA within the UN system and the national stakeholders. Prior to joining the United Nations, she was the Deputy Director of National Institute of Family and Population, Ministry of Health in Tunisia. She is a medical doctor with a master's degree in the management of quality of care in Faculté de Médecine de Tunis in Sous, Tunisia. Let us welcome Dr. Leila Joudane.
Yeah, this is very important question. We saw when recently the DHS was released that the fertility rate reached 1.9. But this is not, we need, what we need to do is mainly to ensure that this trend will continue, right? because we released, we did the DHS during the pandemic, so perhaps in-depth, analysis needs to be done so that we know how this rate will be stabilized. Is it 1.9 or it will it will go up again and be stabilized, in within 2.1, something like this. This is really the work that needs to be done before saying that we are reaching, this fertility rate of 1.9. But in the same time, we know that the decline, we saw this decline during the past decade. So we know that the Philippines, with the implementation of the RPRH law, reached, the demographic transition. And this is something that we need to celebrate. It means that women now, they have a right to choose. They have a right also, their reproductive health and rights are fulfilled. So this is very, very important and we need to celebrate this. In the same time, the country in the medium term will, because of this, achievement, will benefit from this achievement, and the economy will also be affected positively. In fact, women and the couple and the family will begin to have fewer children, so they will invest more in the health and the education of their family. This is, will affect, of course, the economy at the end. And this is what we call it, the demographic dividend. If the younger girls, younger people, women are more productive because they are healthier, they are educated, this is how the country will reap the demographic dividend. So yes, the implementation of the RPRH law is still very important, because it doesn't mean that with what we achieved, we will reap the demographic dividend. It's now the time to continue the investment that the country started, because we need to continue to ensure that women are able, to make the decision in relation with their fertility, to have access to sexual reproductive health and right, to be well educated, that each pregnancy is wanted, but every delivery is safe, so that mother and children, are safe, and we will reduce the maternal death. At the same time, we will reduce to zero the adolescent pregnancy if adolescents have access to the information, to the right information, to comprehensive sexual education. If adolescents and girls have access to the services, they will be safer. After that, they will be educated and they will be productive. So this is how, the implementation of the RPRH law will ensure that the country will reap the demographic dividend. So yeah, as we said, the RPRH law is really one of the most important laws that we have in the country. And now we are commemorating 10 years of and 10 years anniversary of the RPRH law, right? But we need to ensure that we will continue the implementation of the RPRH law. Of course, we know that many programs, strategies are in place. But what is important now is to ensure that these strategies will be, also implemented at local level, right? So we need to continue working all together, government, the governmental, agencies, at national level, at regional level, at provincial level, and mainly at local level, with NGOs, with the local, NGOs, with the international community. We must continue to invest in the implementation of the RPRH law. In addition, as I said, for the local level, it's very important that we implement, the RPRH law at local level, mainly now that we have Mandana's ruling implementation and the devolution, we need for sure to support, the decision makers at local level, and also to support, the managers of a program at the local level, so that the RPRH law is implemented. One most important, issue that is still not yet implemented is the prevention of adolescent pregnancy. And here we know that there is a bill that needs to pass, and hopefully this year it will pass, and after that it will be implemented and translated in programs and strategies, even if there is, program in prevention, related to the prevention of the adolescent pregnancy that needs to be reinforced. And here UNFPA with other UN agencies, and recently, for example, with the support of Kwaika, we signed a new joint project to ensure that together we will support Department of Health, Department of Education, and the local government to prevent adolescent pregnancy in the sites where we will implement this project. So this is why it's very, very important that the RPRH law continue to be implemented, and we reinforce, the programs that are in place, but in addition, make sure that what is not yet, translated in programs and policies needs to continue, and we need to continue our efforts to support our partners to fully implement the RPRH law.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat, sa aming mga panauhin, sa mga nagpaunlak po ng aming imbitasyon na makadalo at nagbigay ng kanilang mga mensahe para mabuo itong Usap Tayo sa Family Planning na aming talk show.
Maraming salamat po, at alam po namin na maraming natutunan ng ating mga audience sa inyo ngayong araw na ito. Ayan, napakaganda na naging talakayan natin ngayong episode na to, at syempre sobrang makabuluhan dahil sa impormasyon na ibinahagi natin tungkol sa RPRH Law. Pero kailangan na nating magpaalam, Sir M.
Oo nga, partner Iris, no? Pero bago tayo magpaalam ay nais nating pasalamatan ang mga naging kasama natin ngayong araw, ang United Nations Population Fund Philippines, Ginoong Benjamin De Leon ng The Forum, Dr. Junice Melgar ng LIKHAAN, and kay Dr. Leila Joudane ng UNFPA.
Pasasalamat din sa bumuo ng Madla on the Streets na sina Mr. Kevin Sela at Miss Jasmine Bingkoy. Siyempre, ang ating Pop Gunner host, si Arang Salamangka. Pasasalamat din sa bumubuo ng ating production staff sa EFB Films at Knowledge Management and Communications Divisions. Mula sa Usap Tayo sa Family Planning Talkshow, family, a Merry Christmas!
And Happy New Year to all!
Ito po ang inyong kapopcom, si Irish Viola Santa Ana.
At ito naman si Michael De La Rosa na nagsasabing,
ang pamilyang planado, protektado!
Usap tayo sa Family Planning.